Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest. She's with Our Kids. She's the Development and Communications Coordinator, Jill Martindale. And let's start out, Jill. How are you doing?
Doing great, Jeremy. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's start with some history and context all the way back to 1987, but give us a little bit of history for Our Kids.
That's right. We were founded in 1987, and so we are turning 34 years old this year, and we are quickly approaching a very important milestone, and that is that we have evaluated almost 30,000 children in that amount of time. Our Kids is a nonprofit that provides expert medical evaluations and crisis counseling for children and families struggling with the issue of child sexual abuse. And we were founded way back in 1987 because there was a law that was created requiring all adults in Tennessee to be mandatory reporters of abuse. And what we found is that children were just languishing in emergency rooms. And the emergency room personnel didn't have the expertise to know how to treat these children who had been sexually abused. And so we were formed back in 1987 and we hit the ground running, and it's just a remarkable organization, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. Our staff is on call 24/7. So if a child is assaulted in the middle of the night or on the weekend, we are there for them. We are compassionate and we are trauma informed, and we are just there for those children and families, not only for the medical side, but also for the mental and emotional side as well. So our team works together. It's multidisciplinary. So we have social workers and nurse practitioners that work with every single child and family. We evaluate almost 900 children a year across 47 counties in Middle Tennessee, with our main clinic being in Nashville and then 4 satellite clinics in Clarksville, Cookeville, Lawrenceburg, and Manchester. And so it's just an honor to be here and talk about Our Kids and also to be a part of this team. We are an outpatient clinic of Nashville General Hospital, and we work with hundreds of community partners across the state, really. We also collect forensic medical evidence. And so our team is in court quite a bit, testifying. We also diagnose and treat STDs and sexually transmitted infections, which is important in the care of a child. And we provide just a loving, childlike atmosphere for those children and families who are struggling with such a difficult topic.
Let's stay on the topic of working with the children and the youth. And so as you've kind of painted the picture, you've got the 24/7 access, the specialization on that side, education, advocacy, that's a big piece of it. So dive in a little deeper when it comes to helping the youth and being there for them with the 24/7 support and that piece of it, but also too, really the education, the awareness, and really diving into the tips, so to speak, to keep them safe as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So not only are we there 24/7, but with child sexual abuse, it is so complicated that many times children, and most of the time, they don't tell right away. So we are there 24/7, but at the same time, we run these clinics because when a child discloses that they have been abused, they still need the reassurance that their body is okay. And that what we tell the children is that no one will ever know that this has happened to you unless you decide to tell. And that's so important because it's giving the power back to the child. And yes, the 24/7, if the assault's happened and we know and it's been interrupted and someone has told right away, but it's also important for them still, if it has been years since this happened to them, for them to come see us and us to be able to provide resources for them to move on. And yes, we also do training in the community. We also conduct and publish research in this field. And with our patient volume, we are actually one of the largest clinics of our kind in the entire country. So it's so important for us to give back to the field of child maltreatment in the research portion, because we do have a high patient volume and we are able to give back in that manner. And yes, absolutely. Training, we train hundreds of law enforcement, Department of Children's Services, pediatricians, a few daycares in the area. and child advocacy centers. Oh my goodness, they are so important to us just across this entire region. They do such a great job. And so we are so honored to partner with them, to help protect the children in our area. But, it's up to us. It's up to us to believe and to protect our children. And that's one thing we want to get the word out also to parents and anyone who has a child in your life. If a child tells you that something has happened to them, believe them. Children don't lie about child sexual abuse. And it's important for them to be believed, because if they are believed and protected, they are resilient. And if they get the help that they need when they need it, they will overcome this trauma. And, in fact, we have caregivers that are here every single week that tell us that this happened to them when they were 7, or this happened to them when they are 8, and they never told anyone. So in fact, child sexual abuse is one of the most underreported crimes because children don't always tell. And so they live with this and they struggle with it. And I don't know, Jeremy, if you can believe it, but 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 7 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And so that's just with the numbers that we know. And even those people that are out there, just imagine what the numbers really are. So it's up to us to believe and to protect them. If someone tells you stay calm, tell them that you believe them, you love them, and you will help them. And it's up to us to report. As I mentioned, back in 87, they came up with this law, which is fabulous, that every adult is a mandated reporter in Tennessee for any suspicion of abuse. People don't have to do their own investigation. And in fact, we want to leave that to the experts. But if there is a suspicion, please report it. And in fact, you can report anonymously. And that number is 877-237-0004 in the state of Tennessee. But if there's any suspicion whatsoever, please report. And it's also up to us to educate ourselves. And it's important for people to understand that this is an issue. Absolutely.
And I know that sadly, many times it's someone that the child knows very well who has been grooming them, sadly. What going back to the point you made about the research, what's something that has opened your eyes a little bit when it comes to the research and the findings? And I think, just the fact that in many cases, it's someone that is well known to the child. I mean, that's something that is startling. But what's something else that comes out of your research that you think is important to share?
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. It's actually over 90% of the time, the perpetrator is someone who is known and trusted and even loved by the child or the family. And that's why this is so distressing. It's why children don't always tell right away, because they don't want anything to happen to them, because they love them and they care about them. But also something that has come out of our research is that most of the time, there is no injury or bodily harm to the child. And we've done a lot of research in terms of that as far as the exact, injury prevalence. And in fact, it's only 7% of the time is there any type of injury whatsoever, which is very low. And that is because these perpetrators don't want to lose access to these children. It's not like physical abuse whatsoever. These perpetrators want to keep grooming and having access to these children. So they don't want to hurt them. So that is one thing that has come out of our research, is that, 93% of the time there is no injury whatsoever. And sometimes that's what's hard to explain to people, is that just because this has happened to a child, it doesn't mean that physically there's anything wrong whatsoever.
Yeah. What are some tips for parents to keep their children safe?
Oh, goodness. I'm so glad you asked me that, because that is something that we want the public and all parents and anyone who knows children to know. One of those things is just the awareness piece, that it does happen. It happens everywhere, every state, every neighborhood, every community. We have people that drive up in Teslas. We have people that drive up here in Mercedes. We have people that we have to send taxis for because they don't have transportation. It doesn't matter where you live. It is happening. So that is number one. Number two, ongoing communication with your children is vital. You want to create an atmosphere in your home that invites your children to tell them if something is wrong, if something makes them feel icky or scared or anything. Start those conversations early. Teach them the right names of their body parts, and just tell them, if something happens to you, it's okay to tell me. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be angry, and I will believe you. Another very important piece these days is online safety. And, the digital world is growing rapidly and is just crazy. And these kids are so savvy when it comes to technology. So in terms of online safety, ongoing communication, again, like as soon as you hand your device, start to your child, start having these little talks. We call them little talks, even ages, 2 to 4. And there's a great series we recommend called Into the Cloud from NetSmarts. And it's a video series and an online series that the Center for Missing Kids has come up with. And it's so much fun because it's geared towards age 10 and under. So we highly recommend showing your kids this video series, and just because it teaches them about stranger danger online. I mean, the thing is that people are not who they are, or not who they say they are online. And a child may be chatting with someone in a game or in a gaming situation who they think is 14, and they may be 28. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of scary things right now. Also, just continuing those conversations as they get older, it's not a one and done thing. It needs to continue. And especially when they get their own cell phone or their own device, and it doesn't have to be a cell phone, any access to the internet, these conversations need to happen. And teach them that nothing, including pictures, nothing is secret on the internet. And once pictures are out there, they cannot be taken back. And that is just a huge thing to teach these kids. And remember, even if they are 12, 13, 14 years old, their brains aren't fully developed. And so they may think that they are mature and they're old enough to know all this stuff, but really they're not, because their brains are not completely developed. And so those are the main things that I want people to know. We have some great resources on our website, and we share a ton of great content on social media. So we'd love for people to follow us and also to check out our website for sure.
So how can we help? How can the community help your efforts?
Just getting the word out that child sexual abuse does happen, and that there are great organizations locally and statewide and nationally that are here to help. But it starts with just knowing that it does happen, and educating yourself. Like I said, everyone has some sort of child in your family, even if it's a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, a cousin, or a friend's child. Make sure they're aware of what's going on as well. We've got also on our website how tips for talking to your children, and just some different ways to phrase things that are great. And so I highly recommend that people check those out as well. But yeah, just getting the word out for sure, and supporting organizations like ours.
When you look at a typical year, you do have events that go on throughout the year and fundraising opportunities and things like that to plug in. So give us a little bit of a broad overview when it comes to some of the events, the main ones throughout the year, and the ways we can plug in physically.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking about that. We have several events throughout the year. COVID kind of put a damper on some of those, but every year in February, we have an event called Soup Sunday. It's typically at Nissan Stadium inside because it's February, but 50 local restaurants come make soup. You get to taste it. We have children's activities, and it's a ton of fun. That's a big fundraiser for us. We participate in the Big Payback every year in May. And we also have a run every year. It's a 5K called Hammer Down that's held every April or May in the spring. We have a golf tournament in October. That's an annual event for us that we have. And then we have some other smaller events throughout the year. A couple of other golf tournaments that give money to us as well. But those are the main ones. Absolutely.
What's something that you wish everyone knew about our kids?
Oh, that we're here, that we are here 24/7, and that it is an absolute wonderful place to come. Even though the topic, child sexual abuse, is very sad and scary and terrible, this place is full of light. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but our tagline is help, hope, and healing. When families come here and they are scared and angry and all of those things, by the time they leave, you can just tell that a weight has been lifted off of their shoulders after they meet with our experts and they know that their child is going to be okay. then they leave here knowing what to do next, that they are on the road to recovery and they're on the road to healing. And it's just an awesome opportunity to be part of that journey and to see that transformation happen in the hour and a half to 3 hours that our staff spends with them.
Wrap up with contact information. So your website, social media, where do we go to learn more and get involved?
Yeah, so locally, it's ourkidscenter.com. We actually, a couple of years ago, had a national campaign called What If I Told You? That's whatifitoldyou.com. So nationally, you can click on that website and find resources in your own communities and get help in that manner. We are at Our Kids TN on Instagram and Twitter, and then Our Kids Center on Facebook. And we're also on LinkedIn. But thank you so much, Jeremy. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you today and talk about the awesome place that Our Kids is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jill, for all you and your team do. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.